Come on, man. Trying to be live here. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Crypto Talk Bitcoin. Brandon from Los Angeles, California. Unfortunately, Facebook would not allow me to connect live figure, so I'm doing it through YouTube. So we're going to get this kicked off in a second. Go ahead and type in where you are listening in from. We'll be getting started in a second. Hello, Jay Guillory, Cleve Stewart, Tony Pinkston, Stan Williams. Hey, Tony, was that you trying to call me this evening? I was on a conference line. I just got off a few minutes ago, so I haven't been able to respond. Hey, Stan from Tampa. Go ahead and share this as well. I have it posted on Facebook, so people know it's not a Facebook Live. It's on YouTube. Pat Davis. Omar Jared from Connecticut. As a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I read the news, share my opinion, give suggestion, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move into. There's 4 rules I live by in the crypto space to have success. Rule number 1, education is key. Education is everything. Rule number 2, never invest money that you cannot afford to lose. Rule number 3, always get a return on investment back as fast as possible. And rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What are you willing to do to make that happen? Make a decision, take action, stay focused, do not get distracted, find yourself a vehicle like economics. Now, following these rules is not going to guarantee you success, but they will at least minimize your risk. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most that we can ask for. Doing it through YouTube. Sharing. All right, all right. So Tony, yeah, I'll give you a call after I'm done here. If you didn't already get an answer to your question, and let's go ahead and get things. First thing we're gonna do. There's only one article I'm gonna cover tonight, which is about the history of Bitcoin. But I'm also going to share something special. You know, next week we're going to be having a corporate call from economics. But I just got off a private call with Mel Atwood. He's the programmer behind economics, and he shared some things with me that I didn't previously know that I'm very, very excited about. So I'm going to be giving you guys a little sneak peek on some of this information to be ready for next week. And also, for those of you that already have an economics position, what you can start doing right now to get ready and prepared for when Ripple 2 opens up. We're in Ripple 1 right now, which is just the staging. So we're going to talk about that at the end of this. So what is the market looking like right now? The market is cap is at 266 billion. It is down 0.72% over the last 24 hours. So it has grown a little bit throughout the day. You guys might want to reach out to some of your people. They want to hop on my live right now. So by the end, they want to hear some extra information. They definitely want to do that. So Bitcoin is kind of flatline. It's at 10,500. The market still is pretty much red the last hour and the last 24 hours, but the bleeding has stopped a little bit. It was at down 2% this morning. Let's see, has there any been good performers over the last 24 hours? Yeah, we got Engine Coin is up 11%, 29% over the last 7 days. Wow. We've got Steam, Decentraland, Jex Token, Data Network. Let's see, Huobi Token, Pundi X is up barely, just a bit, 2.1% over the last hour. So here's the only article I wanted to cover tonight. It's a little bit of history. Why the birth of Bitcoin can be traced back to 1971. Why is that date important? Anything significant happened in 1971? I wasn't even alive yet. I was born 1976. So what was going on in the world in the Vietnam War? You know what? Carter wasn't even president yet. We just came out of the 60s, tumultuous 60s. The murder of JFK, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr. But here's what happened in 1971. We were removed from the gold standard. That's right. You can call that the beginning of the end of United States dollar. Removed from the gold standard in 1971. So why the birth of Bitcoin can be traced back to 1971. The world economy is a complex system that has undergone many different phases in the past century. As strange as it may sound today, there have been times when banking crises were rare, pay was rising alongside productivity, and the US dollar would buy a certain amount of pure gold. Despite its obvious successes in certain areas, the global monetary system that laid the foundations for this time of stable growth eventually failed. And here's why. When $35 bought you an ounce of gold, the post-World War II era started with a negotiated monetary system that set the rules for international commercial and financial. This was a product of the Bretton Woods Agreement from 1944, which created a new financial order in a world devastated by its largest military conflict yet. The conference in New Hampshire, held before the war was over, established the main pillars of global finance and trade: the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, now part of the World Bank Group. The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, later replaced by the WTO, World Trade Organization, was signed soon after. Now, I'm going to read that one more time because this is kind of taught in school, but the significance of it, Americans don't even get. Why has America been allowed to be so dominant since World War II? You got to know this history. And the reason is because World War II smashed the world. You look at Europe, Russia, the Middle East, China, Japan, which before World War II had huge manufacturing bases. They were leading the world at that time, but the war smashed it. Millions and millions and millions of people were killed, working-aged people, entire generations lost. But the United States, our industrial complex was left unscathed. The only thing that happened to us was Pearl Harbor. But the continental United States remained untouched. In fact, because of the war, we were able to build huge manufacturing districts to help build and fund the war. Now, when the war's over, that is left untouched. And now there's no competition. So we were in a position to help rebuild the rest of the world. So instead of in human history, us conquering other countries and planting our flag there and taking over like the British Empire did with their colonies, we did it through economics. We said, we're going to help rebuild you, but it comes with a catch. Your government is going to be friendly to the United States and the United States. They're going to become one and the same. And in return, we're going to help rebuild your nation. Oh, you can still be independent as long as you follow what the United States wants you to do. You're also going to use our currency as the currency for the world. All trade will be using as a baseline the United States dollar. All oil will be called the petrodollar. You guys see how we set this thing up? And anybody that doesn't fall in line, we can drop sanctions on you and you're not going to have United States support. And you're not in a position to be able to support yourself. Everybody's blowing me up tonight. Blowing up off the hook. So that's why, and then if anybody still doesn't do what we say, we've got the biggest, baddest military on the planet. Our military budget is more than the rest of the world's combined. That is why for the last 70 plus years, the United States has been dominant. However, if you are Russian, if you are Persian, which means Iranian, if you are Chinese, these ancient cultures, you long for the day for your culture to regain its rightful spot in the world. And knowing this, everything that they do today is to make that a reality. Now I'm going a little bit off tangent here, but I just want to set the stage of what the world has looked like 44 up until now. Yeah, America is dominant, but only for a blink of an eye it has been dominant. How much longer will we be able to maintain this, and will we be able to hold the rest of the world back from development? And what would the rest of the world use to get, or in their minds, shake the shackles of the United States. Cryptocurrency is what they're going to use. The digital economy, blockchain technology, getting rid of the petrodollar, lessening Washington's control on the rest of the world. That's what they're doing. It's already taking place right now. But let me read this one more time so you understand how this was set up. The post-World War, and I'm taking my time tonight, guys, because it is late night crypto talk, so listen to it as long as you want. The post-World War II era started with a negotiated monetary system that set the rules for international commercial and financial relations in America's agenda. This was a product of the Bretton Woods Agreement from 1944, which created a new financial order in a world devastated by its largest military conflict yet. This is why I also, when people ask me, how will the world come up with a one world currency? Well, if World War III happens, that's how it can be birthed that way, where nations give up their sovereignty because they don't want to, they have no choice. It'll have to be World War III. But World War II was the biggest military conflict, worldwide conflict in human history, recorded history that we know of. The conference in New Hampshire, held before the war was even over. See, these bankers that were playing both sides of the war, did you guys know that? Some of the biggest families were investing on both sides. That's a whole nother topic. I'm not even gonna get into that. So before the war was over, they were already carving up the planet. Established the main pillars of the global financial trade of what you see today. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is now called the World Bank, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, the GATT, which is now called the WTO, World Trade Order. And that was signed soon after. Oh, I'm loving this article. This is right up my alley here. The governments behind the Bretton Woods system, many of them wartime allies against Nazi Germany, aim to create a world in which a major armed conflict and a global depression could never happen again. That was the goal of it. We can never have another world war again. That was to be achieved by building an effective international monetary system and reducing barriers to free trade. Over 700 representatives of 44 countries hammered the agreement in the course of a month. No bankers were invited to take part, by the way. The delegates decided that their monetary construct should rest on the US dollar as the world's reserve currency in an effort to replicate the pre-war gold standard. Although in a limited form, the dollar was tied to the precious metal at a fixed price. The United States government committed to convert dollars into gold at $35 an ounce. The US currency became the new gold standard while retaining flexibility in comparison with real gold. See that? The US currency became the new gold standard. See, people aren't running around with gold in their pockets paying for milk and bread. But the United States currency is just as good as gold around the world. You can go anywhere around the world and pull out US dollars and you can do something. But how many of you can go around the world pulling out the Mexico peso? That's not going to work. Or the Colombian dollar. That ain't going to happen. A system of fixed exchange rates was then introduced in which all other major currencies were pegged to the gold-backed US dollar. This is why America has been dominant. All other major currencies were pegged to the gold-backed US dollar. Participating nations had to maintain currency prices within 1% of parity through interventions in their foreign exchange markets. Purchases and sales of foreign currency were constantly made to keep rates close to the target. Now we're talking about the Forex market. Now here's the deal, guys. How has America been able to live in a dead economy for 70 years? Why? Because the rest of the world is pegged to the US dollar. That allows us basically to print and do whatever the heck we want to do, and none of the other countries are able to compete. It was designed that way. America designed it that way, and the other countries couldn't say nothing against it because their economies were smashed. They had no choice because they wanted to survive. They have a choice today for the first time in 70 years. Let me continue. The good, the bad, the ugly. The Bretton Woods system was effectively a monetary union. Man, you know, I'm excited reading this. If I saw somebody put this topic up, I'd be sitting in the front row with my notes and pads ready to take, excited to learn. But I'm the one reading this. But I'm excited about this. Okay, let me continue. The Bretton Woods system was effectively a monetary union with the dollar being its main currency for some time. It generated the stability of post-war world of the post-war world needed to recover and rebuild. Virtually no major country experienced a banking crisis during the period the agreement was respected between 1945 and 1971. Stop right there. No major country experienced a banking crisis between 1945 and 1971. This was the era of when the baby boomers were thriving. See, 1945, you have what we call in America the greatest generation, my grandparents' generation. No, those individuals, 90s and passed on. They had children that were born in the 40s and the 50s. Those are the baby boomers. I am their offspring, their next generation. Kids born in the 70s and the 80s, and partly the 90s. Generation X. But the baby boomers, you know that old saying, go to school, get good grades, and get a good, safe, secure job, a job that will take care of you for the rest of your life. That was born after 1945, and it worked for one generation. One. And only half of them, the baby boomers. Up to 1971. After 1971, it all went to hell. There's no such thing as corporate America that's going to take care of you for the rest of your life, or a savings account that's going to take care of you for the rest of your life. Yet we're still teaching our children the same thing from back then. That teaching has never changed, but the times have. All right, I don't want to go off that side tangent. Let me stick on point here. So the golden age, the golden period was 1945 to 1971. I wasn't even alive to experience that. Where one husband or one father or one family had one income. The wife was able to stay home. They had 7 kids, a big house, a white picket fence, 2 cars in the garage, be able to send their kids to school and save for retirement on one income. That's no longer possible for the last 30 years, 20, 30 years. That's not, you need at least 2 income household. And even that's not enough anymore. But that's what it was like in those days. All right, let me continue. So we got the golden age. Speculative financial flows were seriously curtailed, and investment capital was channeled into industrial and technological development instead. Helping national economies grow, creating jobs, and lowering trade barriers were to give peace a better chance, and to a large extent they did. aside from Cold War proxy conflicts. So look at this. Number of countries of banking crisis. Oh, wow. From 1800 to 2000. Look at this. 0, 1800s, 1850s, 1900s, we had 10. 1950, well, this was the war, so of course you had a crisis. So 20, about 22, 23, and then it dropped. After the war, 1945 to 1971, 0. 1971, gold standard was taken off, and look what happened. Look at this. 25, drop down and back up again right now. Why this spike? What happened? All right. In 1971, the US president kills the gold standard. Make this into a learning video in our, okay, I'm thinking out loud, okay. Several notable achievements resulted from the Bretton Woods arrangement in a variety of domains. An online portal called WTF happened in 1971. The year when President Nixon's administration unilaterally terminated the US dollar's convertibility to gold summarizes most of them. Backed with astonishing numbers, for example, up until Washington's decision to end the dollar gold standard, productivity rose deeply and wages, unlike nowadays, didn't fall behind. In other words, the rising value of goods and services translated into rising pay for workers. The 119% increase in productivity from 1947 to 1979, the last year when these indicators were moving together, was closely followed by a 100% positive change in the average hourly compensation. Since then, until 2009, productivity has grown by a whopping 80%, while compensation scored only an 8% increase. The quoted data shows. The Great Prosperity, 1947 to 1979. Wow, that's the Great Prosperity. You had pay rose with productivity, wages and overall compensation for production and non-supervisory workers, now about 82% of the private sector workforce, tracked steadily upward alongside gains in productivity. The rising value of goods and services per worker meant rising pay, but that relationship ended in the 1970s. So baseline, you have 1947. So as productivity rose, so did everybody's pay. Today, everybody's looking for a raise, but what's happening? Your productivity is going up, but your income is going down or remaining stagnant. So here's the good golden age. We had plus 119%. But then what happened? The great regression started in 1980 until now. So the pay rose with productivity and then it didn't. So here's what happened in 1980 and beyond. Productivity skyrocketed, but compensation did not. You see what happened here? It's that old saying my grandpa used to say, no matter what you do, you put 110% effort into it. You work hard. Work hard at what you do. Why would he tell me that? Because he is part of this generation. With productivity goes salary. This is why he said that. But that was no longer true after 1980. The hardest working people ended up being the brokest. It was about working smart. It was about working smart. That's a whole nother topic. But this is just, I'm stating facts here. And you've all experienced this. If you were in the workforce since 1980, you've experienced this. Salaries have remained average or in some cases gone down while inflation has gone up. Similar trends can be observed with many other pairs of indicators. Divergence between real GDP per capita and average real wage in the US has been growing steadily since the 70s. According to the calculations of the Bureau of Economic Analysis and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the consumer price index skyrocketed after the untying of the dollar from gold. The same applies to the median sales price of new homes sold in the country. And against this backdrop, divorce prevalence and incarceration rates in the US increased markedly. The post-war semi-gold standard mitigated income inequality in the United States, which had been rising in the years following the establishment of the Federal Reserve System in 1913, and jumped again after the US government decided to turn into purely fiat money. Since 1971, the top 1% of earners have seen their income grow significantly, while that of the bottom 90% has remained almost unchanged for decades. This is why, if you're still working a job, 40 years ago, $20 was able to buy you a lot of groceries at the grocery store. 20 years ago, that same $20 less. Today, that same $20 is getting you far less. Yet, you're taking the same amount of money that you had saved, put aside from your budget, because your income hasn't gone up. People that were making $33,000 20 years ago is still making $33,000 today. But the cost of living has skyrocketed. The cost of product, goods, and services that you need to survive has gone up and risen. Rent and mortgage has gone up, but your income has not. And you still need a college degree to get that same type of job. But you're graduating from college in debt. So now you got to pay the debt, and you're trying to survive. You have nothing left for savings, and you're living paycheck to paycheck. Do you see the rat race here, the trap? Other negative trends after the abolition of the last gold standard include the ballooning U.S. national debt from well below $1 trillion in the 70s. Can you imagine if today that was less than $1 trillion? So in the 70s, it was below $1 trillion to over 20 trillion in 2018. As of June 2019, federal debt held by the public amounted to $16.17 trillion. Last year, it was approximately 76% of GDP. That is wow. If we did not have the world using the United States dollar right now, we would collapse under the weight of our own debt. Our debt is 76% of the GDP. And the Congressional Budget Office expects it to reach over 150% by 2040. Many of you will still be alive by 2040. We're talking just 21 years from now. At the same time, the United States goods trade balance has dropped dramatically, reaching a record low of almost negative $80 billion at the end of December. Look at this. This is where we were. They suspended the gold standard, 1971, and then look what happened. This was the worst thing that could have ever happened. Will the next reserve currency be crypto? Bretton Woods, despite its positives, had some significant flaws that eventually led to its demise. Unlike the gold it was backed by, the dollar, which was the system's reserve currency, could be manipulated by the powers in Washington in accordance with America's own interests. And it was. See, this is the thing about the blockchain. It cannot be manipulated. It's based on math. But the system as we know it can be manipulated. And it was. Dollars were supposed to provide liquidity to the world economy, but initially, the United States wasn't printing enough of them. As a result, its partners experienced shortages of convertible currency. In other words, one of the benefits of Bitcoin is that it's digital. So there's not about I have to print more Bitcoin. It's all ones and zeros. But with the fiat currency, you had to have actual fiat cash to move around. See, unfortunately today, you know, in the United States, there's about 3 to 4 trillion dollars of physical cash. Meaning if people had money walking around, physical cash, about 3 to 4 trillion of it. But there's $11 trillion in American bank accounts right now. What does that mean? That means if everybody were to run to the bank today and pull out all the cash, there's not enough cash to go around. Do you know that's called a run on the bank? The banks would lock their doors. Economic crisis overnight if that were to happen. And this almost did in 2008. And President Bush came out and made an impassioned speech about having faith in the government and the American dollar and for people not to panic. Unfortunately, the only ones that got bailed out were individuals and organizations that got us in the mess in the first place, and they used taxpayer dollars to do so. And nobody went to jail. But the American people did not get bailed out. Does that make sense? So here's the problem. There wasn't enough cash flow to go around. Unlike the gold, it was backed by the dollar, which was the system's reserve currency, could be manipulated by the powers that it was. Dollars were supposed to provide liquidity to the world economy, but initially the United States wasn't. As a result, its partners experienced shortages of convertible currency. And in the later years, the opposite occurred. The greenback was too inflated by the US. It quickly became evident that the agreement is tailored to the interests of the United States. Oh, they just figured that out, which at the time of its signing owned 2/3 of the global gold reserve. So here's the thing. This is highway robbery right here. The United States convinces the world to use the dollar that is backed by gold for 1944, and the other countries didn't have a choice. The thing was, the United States owned 2/3 of it. So you want to look, why was the United States able to become the world power it is? Is because of that. Those who control the money control what's going on. And the United States controlled the money for 70 years. And then the rest of the world started to figure out, wait a minute. In theory, this works. And you know what? If they had the blockchain and Bitcoin, it would have been perfect. That system would have worked flawlessly. They didn't have the blockchain back then. They didn't have Bitcoin. They didn't have digital currency. They only had fiat currency, which was controlled and ran by the United States of America. And the other nations started to realize that. So here it is. It quickly became evident that the agreement is tailored to the interests of the United States, which at the time of the signing owned 2/3 of the global gold reserves. In essence, the monetary union gave too much power to the US and was only going to work as long as other countries were willing to accept the status quo. Now, why would they accept the status quo? Well, what would you do if your nation was smashed to bits and you lost an entire generation of working age males in the war? And the rest of your population is looking at starving. You had no choice. They probably saw it and said, yeah, you know, this is kind of a bad deal long term, but we got to try to survive tomorrow. So they gave willingly too much power to the US and was only going to work as long as other countries were willing to accept the status quo. With Washington exporting inflation, so here's what we've been able to do. All the debt we've been accumulating, exported it. Meaning China, Russia, and other countries bought our debt. That's why we were allowed to continue going and print more money. So with Washington exporting inflation to the rest of the world, however, its partners started to convert large amounts of dollars into gold, while the US was ratcheting up the political pressure on them to accept and keep its printed money at fixed rates against their national currencies. Eventually, countries like France decided that enough is enough and started selling their dollars for gold. The US then broke the link between its currency and the precious metal, which, along with the return of floating exchange rates, effectively put an end to the Bretton Woods and the gold standard. So it wasn't like the president just decided, I'm just going to take us off the gold standard. There was a reason. The other countries said, oh, okay, this is way too much in the benefit of the US. Let's start selling our dollars so that we can have gold like the United States does. So then the US said, okay, in a way to counter that, we're going to break the US dollar off the gold standard. It was like a game of chess that was being played back then, but there's consequences to that. So here's what happened. A similar situation currently exists in Europe's own monetary union. Critics say much of its problems stem from its very design, which heavily favors the interests of Germany. The continent's economic locomotive and one of the world's largest exporters, the government in Berlin is a supporter of low inflation, which ensures German high-tech industrial exports continue to bring high revenues. However, in the Eurozone's southern flank countries such as Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Greece need higher inflation to remain competitive as exporters. It is becoming evident that a reserve currency beyond the controls of various governments would be an improvement over fiat money, subordinate to the national interests of one superpower over another. A cryptocurrency that serves as a means of exchange, store of value, unit of account, and which cannot be inflated or deflated through biased political decisions could be an instrument that would facilitate global commercial and financial transactions without favoring a side. Besides, participating parties would own the real asset itself and not some derivative. Satoshi Nakamoto must have thought about these matters when designing Bitcoin. The person or persons behind this name listed a symbolic date as the birthday on Satoshi's P2P Foundation profile, April 5th, 1975. Be it intentional or serendipitous, that's a date which evokes the historical development of relations between people, government, and money. On April 5th, 1933, through Executive Order 6102, the U.S. government forbid its citizens from hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates. Can you imagine that? Right now in the United States, I mean, everybody's talking about the access of guns and gun violence and the Second Amendment and the right of U.S. citizens to hold guns. What if the United States comes out with an executive order forbidding U.S. citizens from hoarding firearms and guns? Well, that's what they did here in 1933 when it comes to gold. They forbid its citizens from holding gold. How did they get away with that? The aim was to artificially increase demand for its fiat currency at the expense of demand for gold. So the US citizens at that time turned in all their gold, and in return they got a note, because the US dollar back then was called a note. They got this note that's backed by gold that's supposed to represent the gold you had. Some may call it ingenious, others might call it a scam. That's for you to decide. During the Bretton Woods era, only foreigners and not US citizens were allowed to convert dollars into gold, which is arguably one of the system's flaws. The order was reversed in 1975, making gold possession in the United States legal again. Did you guys know that? It was a year before I was born. If you are looking to securely acquire Bitcoin Cash and other leading cryptocurrency, oh wait. Okay, that's the end of the article. Okay, that is powerful. I hope you learned something from this because it's very good to know the history of fiat money, how we got to the debt that we are today, and the blockchain and cryptocurrency is what it is. When I started to do my research, again, I'm going to say this again. There's two things that I found. One, and I'm going to say this first out of order, blockchain technology, the distributed ledger, represents the greatest, I don't want to say it that way. Blockchain represents the biggest invention in American or the world history in mankind. The greatest invention since the internet. It is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet today. It is going to be as big to human society as when we were introduced to agriculture. That's the technology behind it. But cryptocurrencies themselves are going to represent the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind for the most amount of people. You only need three things: a cell phone, access to the internet, and a willingness to learn, which is what economics is to provide for you. All right, moving on from that. I paused for a reason because I'm going to make this into a lesson that we're going to put into the economics back office because I think it is that powerful. This information, knowing the history, knowing your history. So when you're out there and you're actually talking with people, you're going to be able to share why is Bitcoin so important? Why is cryptocurrency so important? Why is the fiat dollar dying? And the next generation of money is being birthed right before our eyes. I'm only 43 years old, and to see how much money has changed just over the last 70 plus years is significant. Really, in my grandma's still alive. She's 96, going on 97. In her lifetime, she was born in the 20s. The financial system has changed in her lifetime one, two, three, one gold, two, three, four, five times in her life. And she's still alive to witness the birth of the greatest change, the Bitcoin and the blockchain era. It's upon us. All right, now that that part is done, and be looking out, we will have that up on the in the economic section. I had a private meeting right before this live, and I've said it for the last couple of months. I've been in the dark on what's been going on behind the scenes with economics and the rollout plan, the genealogy. And now that Ripple One is open and you have a chance to log into your back office, we also unveiled the compensation chart, a one-page chart. It is actually much deeper than this, but this is just the basics. Next week, there's going to be a call with Mel Atwood that's going to go over all of this in detail so you understand what it means. First and foremost, I want to give a couple of highlights that got me very, very excited. Because economics is not just about Bitcoin and crypto education. It's not even just about Forex education. It is about the digital economy. Now, crypto and Forex is part of that, but it's not all of it. We're also talking about asset management, taxes, real estate learning, understanding all of that stuff. We're going to have professionals that's going to be creating courses that cover all of that. Crypto that KGX had is just one part of it. We are not an MLM company. There is no upfront fee. So those of you from KGX know you pay $300. That's not the case here. You join for free. and you buy the education as you go forward and as you see fit, for whatever education you want to learn. What this allows you to do is, well, let me put it this way, another thing for as far as MLM, there is no non-compete clause with us. Meaning, in traditional MLM companies, they tell you, you can't join anything else. That's not the case here. Economics is not designed to pull you or stop you from doing anything else. We're not in competition with any other companies that's in the MLM space. The Jeanette, ACN, or iBoomerang, or the travel companies, or TLC, or whatever company out there. We're not in competition with any of them. In fact, we're here to help those members in those companies because those members are there making money and they have no idea what to do with the money once they make it. Economics is here to show them and teach them how to take advantage of the digital economy with the funds that they have. So you can be a part of any company you want. It is not in our terms and conditions that you can only be economics. That's not the case. As a matter of fact, this is what I learned, and it kind of opened my eyes to more things. You want to know who our real competition is? Our competition is companies like Amazon, Uber, Airbnb. Why? Because that's the business model that we are taking here. The gig economy is about how can I make some extra money on the side? People working a 9-to-5 jobs, you know what they do? They want to make some extra money. They go and drive Uber. And what does Uber do? They can make a couple of extra $100 a week using their own car, their own vehicle, making their own money, and they get paid the next week. See, we have daily pay on ours. You get paid daily, you'll be able to pull that out within 48 to 72 hours right into your bank account. So someone that says, I need to make a couple of extra $100 and by the end of the week, they can become an influencer within economics, share our platform with others, earn 10% by doing so without them having to pay anything. Think about it. Did you have to pay to sign up with Uber? To take advantage of Airbnb? Amazon? You didn't have to pay anything. You just sold the product. You just built your customer base. Now, if you want to be able to earn even more money, you can share this as an affiliate with others who are looking for a little side gig. They want to make an extra $500 to $1,000. And we're talking about something that's affordable. Anything between $60 a month to $80 a month. That's affordable. See, what's one of the main differences that we have from KGX? KGX had a one-time pay, $300. But there was no monthly on that. So yeah, you got paid upfront money, but that was about it. Here, there is no $300 upfront, but we just have a monthly on the courses, and we're going to provide content. And our content is already being looked at from outside sources. That's all I can say about that. Did Chris post something? Yeah, he did. Well, yeah, since he posted it, I'm going to say it. We have universities looking at us right now. Universities that want to use our courses. People that they're not looking to, recruit people and buy a team and build a team. But they can share it, get a couple of the customers and make a couple of $. That's what this is about. And we have a system in place for those that are looking to make $500 a month, $1,000, $10,000 a month, $50,000, $100,000 a month. That depends on how much you want to make on your own hustle. Like Uber, you want to make more money, pick up more people and start driving more people. So in that aspect, it's like a light bulb was kind of going off in my head when I was listening to it. And I'm going to do a Facebook Live tomorrow with the camera on. And I'm going to share a little bit more about this because it was the very first time it was shared with me in this fashion. See, up until this point, the way way I think of things has been from the KGX cryptocurrency model. Now I've been expanded a little bit more to an influencer digital economy model. It's much different. Here's something else, guys. We are the only game in town. We have hired and brought people on board that are top influencers in many different industries to provide content for economics. And they're excited. We are the only game in town. We have no competition. So what can you do right now in Ripple One? Here's one thing, and this is I was given the permission because I'm very good at running my mouth and all of a sudden they're slapping me down. So I was given permission. You can start right now because we're in staging area to get into the system. So if you are not in the economics system yet, get back with whoever is showing this to you. Get their link so that you can become a customer first and start as an influencer, be in the system. You have access to our video on demand, which is free for the next couple of weeks. You have access to that. Here's what you want to do. You want to share this with at least 5 people before we even get to Ripple, which could be in a couple of weeks. You want to share this with at least 5 people for free. Have them signed up. Have them show the video on demand section. Have them go through the videos. Can I show this? Let me stop share real quick because I don't want to show something in my back office I'm not supposed to. Okay, let me turn it back on. Oh, I got to log in again? Okay, hold on. This is a Facebook Live. Well, not Facebook Live, but people did not want to miss. But you can share this with everybody on your team. So this is our video on demand. This is not our main course section. This is just a video on demand section here. Okay, so we've got these videos: benefits of business, leadership, creating growth, understanding business, commitment, making keep money, millionaire mentality, the river of money. Yeah, that one's mine. You guys heard me talk about that. How Bitcoin mining works, how to accept cryptocurrencies, ICOs, investing, making money on crypto. The 4 rules to success in crypto. You've heard I say that every single crypto talk. So you can go through these videos, and those 5 customers that you signed up for free can have access and go through all of these videos. And this is going to be, I mean, we're going to have dozens and dozens and dozens of videos in this section here. A lot of content. I'm questioning that we should be giving this away for free, but they're giving it away for free. All right. Look at the categories: asset protection, cryptocurrency, personal development, social selling, tax strategies. And our monthly from not just this, but everything else. So far that I've been told, there may be more. $60 a month or is it $90 a month? $89.99, something like that. People pay thousands for this information. So what you want to do right now, if I were you, I would double that. Not 5, I'd go 50. But I've seen the show on the compensation plan. So I kind of have a good idea on what it would take to maximize qualified influencer or an ambassador. The key is 5. Not can you find 5 people that can pay $600? 5 people that can do $60 to $90 a month and learning the digital economy. Start with that process of 5 easy steps. You know, what people know: step 1, step 2, step 3, that kind of stuff. But right now, what you can do, You want to have be looking in your back office. You can look at your tree, and you want to have set up yourself, not because somebody placed somebody underneath you. 5, just 5, at least. Well, I want to say just 5, at least 5. That is what you can do. Anybody that accomplishes that, I want you to shoot me a message and highlight, because I was also taught some things that I can't share just yet on strategy, on individuals that are big time. You know, you might have shared it with 50 people already or 100, how to build it properly. And I was shown some things, and I want to incentivize people. You know, this is not charity, because you're not going to benefit from that anyway unless you do something yourself. But to maximize it, you want to have at least 5. That's simple. I'm going to have a team in place and training in place that's going to show how to knock that out of your first 24 hours and then duplicate that. Those 5 have their 5 in 24 hours. Those 5 have their 5 in 24 hours. And again, these are customers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not talking about industry gurus out there and network marketing gurus. I'm talking about finding 5 people who want to learn about the digital economy. That's all I'm doing. And then those that want to make some extra money on the side, want to make some extra $500 a month, share it with 5 other people and show them how to do the same thing. It will be game over on that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Late Night Crypto Talk. I'm going to edit this video to cut out, and we're going to upload on there this lesson here about why the birth of Bitcoin can be traced back to 1971. And we're going to put that up there. So with that, I hope you guys learned something new. I did. As always, that is the point. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty. Every time I want to do something big, Facebook, it doesn't want to agree with me. So I had to do it through YouTube. But it is on Facebook, so people can find it there. But you definitely want to share this. Those of you that are part of the economics family, share it with your people. Start getting your leaders prepared. This is what they've been waiting for to be able to see, on top of, well, obviously the software. But this is what they've been prepared to see and wanted to see. Show me the money. And next week, there will be a call that's going to go into detail about this more. And then I will start being more active, having strategies with the leaders. And I'm looking for those who are going to run. I'm not looking for those who are coming to me, Brandon, how many people are you going to stack up under me? I'm looking for those who are going to run with me. And those are the ones I'm going to be, if you want to use the word term, helping out first. And then from there. I can't help you if you don't want to help yourself. So with that, have a great day, everybody. I'm very, very excited. I wish this was all in place right now. You know, that's the only impatience of me. I got to wait for Ripple 1, Ripple 2, Ripple 3, you know, going from where we are now, staging, to soft launch, to pre-launch, and then to our global launch. I wish it was there today, but they're doing things the right way. And they're making this a global brand. And you have the opportunity at the beginning to be a part of it. And your part in this, knock out your first ASAP. Right now. You can sign them up right now. You have your link. Your link is going to be economics.com/your username. You're not cross-recruiting anybody, because anybody can be a part of economics. We just signed up Brian Bean, for heaven's sake. You might know him from MyEcon. We have people from every major company out there that's coming on board. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, keep doing it. In fact, you can share economics. I'll be having a call with another leader. I'm not going to say his name, but I'm going to be talking to his organization in another company about economics, because they all need it. How about that? So have a great day, everybody. I will be doing a Facebook Live tomorrow with the camera on, and I will go over this again, but not showing screen. I'll be sharing the vision for you. I'm not even going to call it the economics vision. We could call it, Bitcoin Brandon's vision in economics. I'm going to let economics do that, the company itself. And and I will say this too. Since we're in the staging stages and the ripples early stage, the way this company is going to look and the ideas is going to come from you guys. So any ideas that you guys have, best way you want to show this and showcase it, you can share that information. Anybody that has questions and tech support, we encourage you to use the back office ticketing system. So you can go into your back office and go down to help right here. You click on help. Your upline is not customer service. I am not customer service. Okay? If you've got the questions, you can't call me. I'm not doing it this time around. That's what we have this for. So you can submit a ticket here. Use option number 3. Submit a ticket. Also this, if you look in your back office, it's going to tell you who your sponsor is. If your sponsor is not shows up here and is not who it's supposed to be, submit a ticket saying, I'm not showing the right sponsor, because, for example, some people did not confirm in the system, which meant if your upline did not confirm, you rolled up to the next person. Now, if you're that individual and you did not confirm, there's no way we can go back and confirm you in the system. You need to go to your sponsor, get their link, and sign up again. You didn't lose anything because this is not a binary. All right, so get that out of your head. You think you lost something. You didn't lose anything. This is not a binary. This is not MLM. You're a customer first. So if you did not confirm, then go to your whoever I got to stop using the word sponsor. Go to your influencer and get your influencer's link. Any questions, submit a ticket. Don't call Brandon. I'm not customer. I'm here to help, but I'm not customer support. Use the system. All right, you guys have been quiet. Nobody's been chatting in the chat box, so either you're fervently listening or I bored you to sleep. Either way, I don't know about you, but I'm excited. If you ain't excited, you better get excited. But I don't need to wait until all the ripples are in place before I take action. I'm taking action right now. And you can too. Get your team in place. I'll give you another example. And can I say this? Yeah, I mean, I can say this because it's not economics. When I started to build KGX, I didn't wait for everything. I built my list early, and some of you guys remember that. I had a list. And I can share past performance and disclaimer. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. I'm just stating facts. Because I got myself in position, and I'm only speaking on KGX, I was able to earn almost $12,000 in my first week, and then went on to earn almost $30,000 in my first 30 days. How did I do that? I made a list. I took action. Now, that's not what's going to happen in economics. I'm not giving you what you're going to make. I'm only telling you the actions that you can take, the money will follow. So if you follow this, 5, sharing with 5, sharing with 5, do that just 4 or 5 times. Because one thing I asked Mel, I said, Mel, here's what leaders want to know. What do I need to do to make $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month and more? I'll tell you, those that want to be at that 10, no, I'm going to say that for tomorrow. Here's a magic number. 1,500 customers on your team. in at least 3 legs or more. 1,500 customers on your team and at least 3 legs or more on the $60 or $90 a month plan. That's your sweet spot right there. Write that down. I didn't say you had to have 1,500 customers. I said your team. 1,500 customers on the $60 to $90 a month plan in 3 or more legs. That's your sweet spot. So, as a leader, my goal is, okay, how to knock that out in the first 30 days. How about, since we're in Ripple, how to have that many people in place before we even reach Ripple 3 and 4? How about doing that before this month is over? Brand new. I'm not talking about what we already have. Just far more than that. I'm talking about brand new. 5, telling 5, telling 5, telling 5. You see how simple that is? This compensation plan is going to be sick for those that work it. And then you taking the money you use there and taking the knowledge that you learned from the digital economy and putting it in places where your money can make money for you, including the own software that we have. Now we get back to what Jim Rohn says, the philosophy of performance. Now we get back to what on this chart? Those who work hard and your income rolls. That's no longer the case in the 9-to-5 job. Well, that's the case with economics. Philosophy of performance, as your productivity increases, so will your compensation. And there's no limit to it. There's no limit. I'm already looking at, okay, how fast can we have 20,000 customers on the team? Paid customers going through the digital economy. I didn't say how many people, influencers and business builders. I said customers. Customers. All right, everybody. I hope that made some sense. I hope that's able to shed some light. Since you guys are the first to hear, you're going to be able to first to take action. I strongly encourage take action. With that, have a great evening, everybody. Bitcoin Brandon out. God bless. Bye-bye.